sense of the numbers. But that 70% goes according to your priorities. You indicated that you are ski-centric thought, that you want to make sure the skiing is world-class. It's very expensive, that you want it done right. And so a lot of that money is going to go to the west side development to make sure that that happens.
So that would be that list we created, priority list a while ago.
Correct. And you might want to look at it, update it.
The titles and all of that.
That's correct. So here's the several good news things that you're going to have more money than when we originally started for you to figure out on this. The first one is that MIDA obtained a $14 million low interest rate loan from UDOT to pay for roads. We'll pay that back out of, but we're getting 2.25% on a 15-year loan, with the first 5 years being interest only. So we're taking down $10 million here soon. I'll talk about that a little more in a second, to build your Jordan Parkway according to county standards, according to county inspections, and so on. Been working with your staff closely on that. But it will be paid, the UDOT loan will be paid over time out of the 70% that comes from the east side property owners. But even a conservative estimate of what several of them are present in this room, and they know what they're planning on doing over on the east side, it will generate significantly more money than is needed to pay your parkway. So you're going to have more money that can go for the other things that we talk about, the ski-centric from the east side to the west side. So that $14 million loan, we're planning on taking the $10 million down soon. We did an RFP, then we put it on hold till we could actually get the $10 million from UDOT. But MIDA is doing the RFP, we're hiring the contractor, we have a project manager, Jack Johnson's groups have been designing the parkway itself according to county standards. And we're working closely with the county to go out and build that, start construction this year on the parkway. So what I'm saying is the carrying costs were, yes, they would have been reimbursed out of the 70% over time, but the carrying cost would be higher than 2.25%. So the net, there's going to be a positive impact financially to what we reimburse to the amount of money you have. The second thing is, on your list was the two portals. We call them the portals. UDOT calls them the underpasses, and the law calls it the underpass, but I'm used to saying portal. But there's the north and south portals underneath Highway 40. That was going to be paid out of your 70% that you allocated as a priority. But now the legislature said, no, that is a statewide purpose, that's a state highway, and they agreed to fund it. So the legislature gave UDOT $10 million this year. I believe next month they're awarding the design contract. They're going to design both the north and south portals at the same time. $10 million is not enough to build both of them. They're going to pick one of them. We got to work out which one that is and build that one first. So design both, build one, and then the plan is they go to the legislature in a subsequent legislative session and get the rest of the money to build the other portal. What that means for you and us is there's more money that doesn't have to go to the portals, which would be about could be $18 million. It doesn't go to the portals, then now could be used for these other JSPA benefits
on
the priority list. So these are good things, and so we're trying to recognize it.
Start date, you got the parkway started this year, the portal commission wasn't started.
No, they're doing the design first, and I'm going to look at, Greg, do you know how long the design process is? I have not heard how long that will take for them to. I heard they're going to award the contract 1st of August. The RFP's out now for design. But I don't know how long that takes to design underpasses. And by the way, one of the things we want to be involved, we want you to be involved, we've been involved, we hear Deer Valley and property owners, they want these underpasses to look nice. If you look up at Deer Crest, there's some of some good finish. We don't want a utilitarian sort of metal, dark thing people bike and walk underneath. We think it should look nice. A nice facade on both sides, well lit, and the concept is they will have a walking path, a biking path, and ability for 2 lanes to go through. But we've indicated to UDOT we would like to make sure it's aesthetically nice. We don't think that's a significant cost. That's a legitimate use of the 70%. There's a Brett Wallen, who's our project manager. He's been meeting with UDOT. UDOT is asking to bring together stakeholders, which obviously involved you and citizens and landowners, to talk about what would be low maintenance but nice looking on both sides. You come from the mountainside, you come from the lakeside. Let's make it look nice. And they want us to do that soon because they're getting the designer to figure out. They have some ideas of something that's low cost. We put a facade on that doesn't affect the that looks good. The next one is, under our agreement with you, is we can take some of your funding, some of them, not your funding, some of our funding from the 70% that we need to make our hotel work financially. So that's one of the challenges. You project the money, but then how much would MIDA maybe need for the hotel? With the legislative change I'm about to talk about, we're not sure we're going to need any of that money. So that just again means a third reason that there's more
money to construct a hotel or to operate it.
And/or. The legislation allows either one. What makes the most sense? Should we help with capital investment or ongoing? And so it's an and/or opportunity. But we're hoping that from the hotel itself, because Extel has stepped up and said not only will you be in a good hotel, but you'll be in the convention hotel, there's an opportunity to make that work financially so that we don't have to ask out of municipal revenue for any of operating money. And I'm hoping that we won't need any of the other 37 money to come back to help the hotel. So that really brings me to the third one. So on our hotel only, so there's several hotels. Some of the landowners here on the east side plan hotel. Extel plans in their village 4 hotels, 3 of which are not the MIDA hotel. All those hotels will work the way they know, the transient room tax, the 1% that we give to you, energy tax, all of that. But in this, the MIDA hotel, what I call the MWR hotel, morale, welfare, recreation, term of art for the military. That's what they call all their facilities, MWRs. So the MWR hotel, that one, and only that one, is subject to, we can do, in lieu of all other taxes, an accommodation tax up to 15%, and then use that to finance the hotel. So one of the things is, because it's not subject to your transient room tax or our transient room tax, what we negotiated and understood in talking to your staff at the legislature is we should pay some of that to you for general fund operations, because you can get some of your transient room tax, some of it could go for general operations. So we're going to take 2% of it, which is slightly more than what you could get from the transient room, and just give it to you for your general fund. Use it however you want to use it. And based on projections for this hotel, that could be in the first, even at the lower occupancy rates, could be north of $200,000 a year, $250,000 a year, and it just, you do what you need to do with it. And that's not part of the municipal revenue fund. That has no strings attached. You just get it, and then we're going to do 2% for MIDA's operation, and then the other 10% we're going to pledge to figure out how to finance this hotel. And the finance of the hotel, in my prior life and with MIDA, we've issued a number of bonds. We're economic development, we're willing to issue bonds. This is a challenging one, but we got to make sure, and the direction from my chair of the board is make sure that this is, world-class, first-rate, and works economically even in bad times. And so we got to make sure that we do this right, and then we do a high-quality development. So only in our hotel we can take the energy tax and we can take the accommodations tax and figure out how to finance it and MIDA control development.
Sounds like you've got the experience to make it happen. I'm just curious, all of these taxes, you've got energy tax and telephone tax and everything. When you add it all up, how much does it come to? 15, 20%?
Well, that's hard to say because it depends on whether you got a hotel or not, or whether it's a commercial property, how much energy it uses. But what I will say to you is that I have property I'm sitting here doing development. This is no different than if you're developing in Park City. MIDA doesn't do an extra tax. The only unique tax we have is for this, is our hotel, the 15%. All the rest of it is just the way it would work if you were in Park City. We're just giving it, you know, like I say, to you and dividing up, but we're not, these aren't extra on top of taxes.
Hotels in the area.
Hotels in the area, yeah. You go stay in St. George or Moab or wherever, or go to Park City, you're going to pay the 1.1% resort community tax, you're going to pay the 1% municipal tax, you're going to pay the Summit County's transient room tax. If you look at the transient room and sales tax in a hotel, those add up to about 13, getting over 13. There was a proposal to go higher. That's why we have authority to go to 15%, because it's already at the 13.5%. So we'll do the 15%, 2% to you, 2% to MIDA, 1% for the Air Force itself, 10% to fund the hotel. That's the plan. In Canada, we do not know if we've been talking to Gary Barnett, the owner of Extel, whether he's going to privately finance the hotel and then we're going to pledge it to that, or he may ask MIDA to issue a revenue bond for the construction of the hotel and we pledge it to the bond. That hasn't been decided. We've talked about it numerous times, but it's something we're going to get to really soon, because the goal is to start construction in June of next year. If you can start construction in June of next year, we've got to figure out the financing this year, by the end of this year, in order to make that all come together. But we're pretty excited about that opportunity. And then the last area I want to talk about is the land use approval, which you talked about, you know, where's the MIDA controlling and that sort of thing. So one of the challenges for us is we were going to control our own destiny within, and you have all the rest of the control. But Extel has made it clear, and Gary Barnett, that he only bought this property because of the opportunity with MIDA, because while this is beautiful property, it's going to take tens of millions of dollars to do it right, the way we all want it done, first class, world class. Nothing better out there when you come and see what this kind of village and such. And it's just going to take a lot of investment. And so, as we worked through that, he said, well, I want you in the heart of the village. And we were like, great. And the Air Force has been out here numerous times. Very top level Air Force. They're very aware of Wasatch County and us and what we're doing. Love the site, but he's indicated you can't finance half a village or a third of a village or a quarter. That even if you're in the first phase, even if MIDA can give us permits to build it, we're not going to do that until I know from the county that that all works. Even if he's going to build it in phases, you still need to have it financed correctly. And so what we are working with them on is trying to figure out, okay, in order to create the project area, in order to do what we're doing with the Air Force, we've got to know that the hotel will actually happen. And so we want to work with you on this so we have a clear understanding on the land use before we take the donation. And so I got 4 or 5 items here. And would you go to the next map? So, actually go to the next one, which is the big picture one, and then this is the blow up. Let's go to the big picture one. So that's the village, obviously Highway 40 here. This is the Mayflower property. And we know what the whole village is, and he's indicated, okay, well, they're working through the county processes, but we telling MIDA we can't donate to you, we can't finalize this, which we're planning to do on August 2nd, until we know that at least in big picture here, we've got the ability to do what we're doing. We are excited about their plan. We've looked at it. Our board has had an explanation of it. I know you've been going through the process. We know this density is lower than what was previously proposed, and we think that it's a solid number. And so we like what they're proposing. And we're suggesting that we jointly agree that yes, in principle, in density, and layout, this is what we jointly like. And so we have, MIDA by statute has land use control over all 2,200 acres. But then by contract, we gave back to you all, 2,100, and, most of it you're going to have control over. But we see this as an opportunity for us to jointly agree that yes, this village is good. Go ahead, MIDA, take the donation, and let's go ahead and finance the hotel in the first phase. So we're suggesting that Mayflower be invested in, but limited to the density they proposed, the 1,970 units. I've heard 3,000 in the past from other plans and 2,500 and whatever, but they're saying, no, we don't need more than that. And we're saying, okay, let's lock that in though. Let's understand that that's what you get. And then under B, in the MIDA control area, we're going to agree with you, while the definition of the MIDA control area can be bigger than what I'm about to show you, that we will limit it down to just, and if you go back to the first map, this is, thank you. And we will limit it to just the pink area. That is the hotel. That is the 7 acres. And then the access road coming in. I guess I should be using this. So this is pink. Right here is the road coming in, and then going in front of our hotel, so we know that we can access, and then put a temporary turnaround until the rest of this is built. So this is all. Under our definition, our agreement, the MIDA control area can be the MRF, can be the access roads, the hotel itself, and appurtenant amenities. So there's going to be ice skating. Obviously, the skiing is critical to us. At one time, we talked about putting all of this in pink because these are the appurtenant amenities that go with it. And I've been in discussions with Doug and Mike and said, you know what? We don't need to do that as long as we all jointly agree that we know this whole village in concept is going to happen. Let's just limit MIDA down less than what our agreement said, and we'll do it by map attached to it. So they can build this, and then we will only have this area that is the MIDA control area. Yeah, I have seen that, and we love it. Air Force has seen it. We think it's a...
That's what you were talking about earlier when you...
Like outline.
Yes. Yeah. We think that one of the things, I've worked with developers for a whole lot of years from the government side, and I've had opportunity to see challenges and good developers and maybe not as good. And we like, as a county, in my opinion, you are fortunate to have what you have coming in here with the money and the backing they have, both on east side and west side. There's some really great plans and great things that are proposed. But what's interesting to me is they came in and said, let's hire the right people to design it, and it wasn't, let's do, like I say, 3,000 units, or the 25, I mean, I've been on this project for 6-7 years, and they've talked about this property being as high as that. And when they came and said, no, what do the experts say? What are the people that design these things? What makes sense? Obviously, it has to pencil for them. We want them to be wildly successful, otherwise they're not going to do it. But what works for density and creating the critical mass and the excitement, and we think what they've come up with that's less than 2,000 units is pretty amazing. And we think this is a great design. And so we just trust you and want you to trust us that we will limit down our size, and we just agree that, okay, we know that he can do this. Now in exchange for this, if you see in the phasing, we want them to move forward with their phasing, and we want them to come to you with a big picture, but your requirements are very detailed, and we want them to detail the first phase and then come in later with the other phases with a level of detail. But we're asking them, in our agreements, that we're in the first phase. Okay. If we're going to build this in June, that what you build here, if the county agrees with us, you get 1,970 units, you get what you asked for, and then you got to come in administratively and go through the process with you and your planning commission. But that first phase, as you're coming through, this hotel is in the first phase. We'll help you finance it, we'll help you figure it out. But we're not doing this so we can wait 5 years or 6 years. And they said, no, that's great. And I've asked Gary personally, I want to be in your first phase, not your second, not your fourth, not your somewhere down the line. He said, no, we'll do it in the first phase. So we're putting that in our writing with our agreements with them, and I want it in our agreement with you, that this is our understanding that this is going to move forward that way. There's also the, well, we don't have to go back to the map, but there's that road that is the loop road that we think works. We don't want to ruin the ski experience, so during the fire season you have the accessible, or during the snow, people are going to, or during the ski season, people are going to be skiing over it. And so I've gone through that with our chair, who's very familiar with the fire code and those requirements. He thinks their plan is great. So, okay, then let's attach the plan and say this is a good plan. And then the last item is minor. In order for them to make the donation, they got to donate it to us and break off pieces. So I've been talking to Doug and Mike about this, and the conclusion was at our August 2nd meeting, we had Land Use Authority. We're going to break by meets and bounds the 5-acre piece and the 2-acre piece into Lot A and Lot B, or Area A and Area B. And they're going to donate both Area A, 5 acres, and Area B to MIDA. And then in other agreements, there's a whole other side of this dealing with the Air Force. So I got an exchange agreement that red triangle will be exchanged for Area B, Lot B, the 2-acre piece. And that's where they will come in and be, and the hotel sits on the 5-acre piece, and the 2-acre piece is the landscaping and amenity next to it. But it's challenging to do financing on United States government-owned land, where it's going to have a mortgage and bonds and stuff. So the physical building is going to be on our lot that we're going to keep from the donation, and we're going to turn around and lease it back to them for them to operate the hotel, build and operate the hotel, do the condominium stuff. And the United States government, the Air Force, is going to be sitting right next to it, but no mortgage on it, no liens, no construction on it. So that's why we divided it into the 7 acres into a 5 and a 2-acre piece. And Air Force is fully aware, and we're working heavily with them to make that trade and that transfer. I appreciate the opportunity. Yeah, if you just go back to my agenda, there's some other, I think, exciting things that can happen, that are going to happen. So I've gone through the donation agreement, the lease agreement. That's going to be on our agenda on August 2nd. I'm hoping, and I was not clear, at one time I thought you'd be maybe considering this what I just proposed, the amendment to our agreement, on July 25th, but then I understand maybe it would be August 1st. So I'm not, that's why I put, or I learned that today, that it might not be July 22nd. I've got to work with your attorney to take this language and put it into legal language, but it's not going to be a long amendment to our agreement. But I'm hoping that you will, consider that favorably, so when I take it to the MIDA board, that we do the Part 2 project area plan, we do the interlocal agreement with you, we do the donation, we'll do the subdivision, and then we'll do the donation agreement where they'll donate it to us, then we turn around and lease it back, and then we're going to work on financing this. The other thing that's going to be on our agenda on August 2nd is to bring in the land and then put assessments. UDOT wants security for their loan, because we're going to pay it back with the 70%, but there's no 70% unless people build something and start paying taxes. We all know that. So as a backup, we're putting assessments on those property owners they already know, and then that'll be the backup for the UDOT loan. The road commission's already approved our loan, so as soon as we agreed on the agreement. So as soon as we do this, we'll be able to take down the 10 million, do the RFP, and get moving on the project. So it's pretty exciting. Now, future sorts of things really quickly. I've been talking to Mike Davis. I want to come back to you and the county. We've got some ideas about opportunities to do the administrative project. This is massive. To do this right, world class, the way we want, 4 seasons, we need to work with you. MIDA doesn't want to, we want to work with you to do the building permits, even on our hotel. You guys, charge the fees, and we work that all together. And so it's done here at the county. But we've got some ideas about how to do that administrative process that is net positive to you financially, but also gives the priority to all this kind of construction for east side and west side in the project area. But we're still formulating those ideas. Want to bring it back at a future time to you. We got a little bit of time before people start turning the building permits and such. The second one is I told you about the financing and MWR, where that's going to take a whole lot of time and work to figure out that. We've already started on it, but it's a complicated financing. Transit plan, we would like to work with you on a transit plan, think through this. We think that you and us collectively could make this, moving from the lakeside to the ski side and ski side to lakeside, even with the portal. Just imagine with me, you've got the person in the condos on the east side, and it's 2 miles. It's only 2 miles. But are we really going to say they're going to load up their car and the kids and put all the skis on and drive 2 miles and go in the parking lot, try to go in the hotels, and they go in and then they come back, and then, oh, I want to go in the village and eat in the restaurant, and load up again and drive there? Is there a better way to move people around? We have a potential funding opportunity, so I'm not asking out of any of your sources of funds. I'm not asking you for any money, but we may be bringing to you an opportunity there to study that. We put $150,000 in the MIDA budget that was approved. We got to do some transportation studies on our Falcon Hill project, and we're thinking about having a consultant help as we work through that on this project. And so we'd like your support and work, but I just want you to know I'm not here to say you need to ante up some money. In fact, we'll be bringing hopefully that to you, but we've got some ideas on a world-class, hopefully transit facility to make this work, east side, west side, back and forth. You also got some talent in your people who live around there that approach MIDA, come to the board meetings, that are interested in participating and have some ideas and understanding transit. We welcome those ideas. We would just like to work with you. But I think we think now's the time to figure that out. Moving, and then during the summertime, you're moving from the village and you want to go to the lake. So we're going to get in the cars and drive because you've got a paddleboard? Or is there better ways to move people back and forth? That's what we'd just like to figure out with you jointly if we could. Olympics, I know that's far away. The probability is very high. It's very, very high that we're going to get to the Olympics in 2026 or 2030. Some of us have had experience with the last Olympics. I've negotiated some things, and there's some opportunities. So that's further down the line, but I just want you to be aware that we'd like to work with you, and we know some things that make opportunities in a financial way. It's good for you and good for us and good for this project. And so anyway, we want to talk about that. And then lastly was to think about who could serve on our council or on our board from you. So you're aware you'll be voting a lot on Falcon Hill stuff. So if you need somebody who's interested in the military, not this project, we do Twilla, we do some things in Davis County and other things. So I'm not warning you, but I just want you to be aware we're looking for somebody who enjoys the military. My last comment and closing comment is that there's about $4 or $5 billion a year that comes to Utah because of our military presence. There was a new study done by the business school at the University of Utah that was commissioned, and it was higher than even many thought it was, by a few $1 billion, how much the impact is. So this is more than just about 100 rooms. We think this is a great opportunity to tell people we want to do business with you, bring your high-paying jobs here, and this is a place to recreate to come and enjoy and experience Utah. So look forward to working with you further. Thank you.
I think we're very supportive of MIDA. I've been on the council for 3.5 years, and we talked a lot about it. It's nice to see it move forward soon. It's nice to hear the timeline on when you're going to break ground and everything. So we love with everything. There's a lot of ducks you have to line up and have it all come together, but we're very supportive.
Thank you.
Any further comments?
Yes, Paul, the changes we need to make to the interlocal agreement and over here on the land use is we got to approve Mayflower Mountains plan and give them Vesta the density of 1,900 units.
1970, I think, is the number.
1970.
They say that's the number they need, so we want to limit them to that.
1970.
And they can come back to you and go higher if they could ask, but we're saying, okay, in exchange for doing this, build us in the first phase and don't go higher than that. But we want to vest them in that, the 1,970. And my point in that, so you understand, is Gary is saying to me, okay, we'll build your hotel when I know that I can build this whole village. And I'm saying, well, you know, it's not a surprise what you're trying to build. Let's get that locked down now. Let's know that now, so that we can start on the financing literally the next week after August. Bonding, even easy bonding, takes 6 months, and we need to get going.
Anything further from Paul?
I'd like to see a skier on that mountain tomorrow, as quickly as you can go.
You can pull snow out tomorrow, I'll pay you for it. We need some snow in July.
We need
What's going to be the status of the Blue Ledge property now?